Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a great day today. As you might know, in a couple days, Star Wars Day is going to happen. May the 4th be with you. Disney has actually owned Star Wars for over a decade, so I kind of wanted to talk about the current state of it. Has Disney made Star Wars better or worse? So if we kind of go back, we know that Disney got Star Wars in 2012. George Lucas sold it to them, and it was definitely a good investment on their part. And kind of the reasoning he sold it was because he was getting old and he could make more Star Wars movies and stuff, but it would have definitely taken him a while, and there was just some other stuff he wanted to do with his life. So while it is pretty sad, it's understandable, and I don't blame him for selling it. And I think a lot of Star Wars fans were just wanting more and more, and a lot of people still want more and more, although we already have a ton more. So some people are burnt out. But at the end of the day, I think it's most important that if there are going to be more Star Wars shows or movies, they just need to be good quality. That's what's most important. And if they can't be good quality, then they might as well just never make any Star Wars thing again. So has Disney succeeded in making Star Wars good quality? So as I said, they got it in 2012, and they've made some animated shows since then. Obviously, they've had the Rebels show and quite a few others. They also made a final season to the Clone Wars, but a huge thing, of course, was also live action. They made the sequel trilogy, and I know a lot of people really enjoyed The Force Awakens when it first came out, but I think that was just pretty much because of nostalgia. If you really look at The Force Awakens, it's pretty much just a copy of A New Hope, and it ruins Han Solo's character arc in the original trilogy. So a lot of people still defend that movie and think it's way better than the other two sequels. But in all honesty, I think it's aged just as poorly. And then of course The Last Jedi is where things got pretty bad. People were divided on whether or not it was good. Obviously, they didn't really have a plan for the sequel trilogy like George Lucas did when he made his trilogies. They were just concerned about making money. And obviously, that's kind of the thing in terms of cinema these days. But you can tell when people are putting more heart into their work. And then obviously The Rise of Skywalker was the last movie to come out in theaters. And there was just a lot of stuff going on in that one. It was kind of a messy story because they didn't really know how to conclude the stuff. And I gotta say, since then there's been a lot of Star Wars Fortnite collabs, and I'm actually okay with that because they're pretty fun. The lightsabers in Fortnite, it's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, they've actually made skins for all of the Disney Plus Star Wars series except for Andor, because that series isn't really targeted towards younger kids. But they've also added Star Wars stuff to different games like Rocket League and Brawlhalla, so those are always pretty fun. I don't really mind those collabs. Besides the sequel trilogy, they've also made the Solo movie and the Rogue One movie, which are both significantly better than the sequels. But kind of transitioning into the series that they've been making some live action series ever since Disney Plus came out, pretty much just so people would get Disney Plus. I mean, I think Marvel and Star Wars alone are the things that really carry that platform. But anyways, one of the reasons it's been making a lot of money is from the Mandoverse. Obviously, they had the Mandalorian show with Baby Yoda, which was just a huge internet phenomenon. He became a meme, and people just really like him. And it's just so obvious that he's a marketing gimmick, but I can't help but like him. And then obviously, they introduced Boba Fett back into Star Wars. They confirmed that he survived Return of the Jedi, which was probably my favorite thing Disney has ever done to Star Wars. It's the only thing that made me consider forgiving them for making the sequels, because Boba Fett is my favorite Star Wars character, and he even got his own show, and some people were disappointed by him getting a little bit softer, but he's really just in a new phase of life, so I don't mind it that much. But I do really hope that they make a show about him before the original trilogy, because that would be really awesome. That is exactly what I would want to see. And then they've also made an Ahsoka series, which brought the Rebels characters into live action as well. And overall, when it comes to these Disney Plus series, I have mixed feelings on pretty much all of them. The only one that I'm very positive on is Andor. It was just very well made, and I'm excited for the next season of that. But with the Mandoverse, all those shows have stuff that works and doesn't work. But what really made me lose hope in Star Wars was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that's not even because it was the worst show or it was terrible. There were some great elements in it, and on a story level, I like what they added to the overall Star Wars narrative. And we definitely can't just take Ewan McGregor returning for granted. However, it wasn't as good as it should have been, and people are making movie edits of it now. Obviously, visually, it was kind of lacking. There was some weird, unrealistic action in it, and it spent way too much time on the character of Reva that just isn't a well-written character. Her motivation doesn't make sense. So even though I don't even think it was bad, I just have mixed feelings about it, and that's what's disappointing, because it could have been like the best Star Wars show ever. It could have been almost as good as like The Empire Strikes Back. So that's when I fully realized that Disney is just more concerned about quantity over quality, and that's disappointing. And they've just had a lot of projects, a lot of movies, shows that's been canceled, but we are going to get some more movies and shows soon. The biggest one people are talking about is the Mandalorian movie. I think it's coming out in 2026, so that might be cool to see if they have a good story. But outside of the movies and shows, Star Wars has actually been doing pretty well in games. Aside from the collabs with the games I was talking about, the standalone Star Wars games like the Battlefront ones and Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor have been pretty well received. But I think what's actually underrated is what Disney has been doing with the comics, especially the War of the Bounty Hunters. They've actually been making some pretty well written comics. I just wish they put that much effort into their movies and shows. So Disney might be overdoing it and focusing more on quantity than quality, but we can't lose hope. And no matter what Disney does to Star Wars, they can't ruin the original and prequel trilogy. That's just a masterpiece of a story from George Lucas. And to be quite frank, that's all the Star Wars I'll ever need. Although some of the shows like the Clone Wars are pretty nice. So overall, I definitely think Disney should have done a better job with Star Wars than they've been doing. But not all of it is terrible. But what do you think in terms of the current state of Star Wars? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.